Welcome to the Public Works Committee meeting for the City of Rapid City for Tuesday, August 26, 2014. I'd like to start the meeting with the roll call and determination of quorum, please.
Estes. Doyle. Roberts. Scott. Wright. We have a quorum.
Thank you. Now's the time to adopt the agenda. If I could have a motion or hear from any committee members to add or remove any items or to adopt the agenda as presented. Second. Got a motion by Doyle to adopt the agenda, second by Estes. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Motion passes. Agenda has been adopted. Now is the time for general public comment. This is a time for members of the public to discuss any concerns or opinions on any item that is currently not on the agenda. Action will not be taken on any items during general public comment unless there is a unanimous vote from the committee members present to place the item on today's agenda. Do I have any speaker request forms for general public comment? I currently do not have any up here. All the speaker request forms I have concern items that are currently on the agenda. Am I missing anyone? All right, we're going to move on to public comment for the consent items. Consent items are items 1 through 15. Public speaker request forms for consent items 1 through 15. I do have some consent items for item number 15, but the understanding is unless this item gets pulled, you're not interested in speaking at this time. Is that correct? That's correct. That is correct. So therefore, we'll hold those in case that item gets pulled. No, they don't. And then the other two speaker request forms I have currently for consent items. Nope, they're non-consent items. So am I missing anyone for consent items? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion from committee members to pull any items off the consent items 1 through 15, or I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent items. I've got a motion by Estes to approve consent items 1 through 15, second by Doyle. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Consent items have been approved, and we'll go to the City Council meeting on Tuesday night. Monday is a holiday. Council meeting will be on Tuesday night. Moving on to non-consent items. Items number 16 through 18. Public comment is now open. I do have two speaker request forms on item number 16. First speaker request form is Mr. James Steele for item number 16. Sir, if you could approach the podium and the speaker. Is Mr. Steele here? Yes. Okay. All right. I guess we're going to hear from Janelle instead. Janelle, if you would still state your name and your affiliation with the city, and you've got 3 minutes to go ahead and speak on this item at this time.
Good afternoon. My name is Janelle Fink. I'm with Fisk Land Surveying, and I'm here on behalf of Mr. Steele, and he's deferred his comment this afternoon to me. I would like to start by thanking staff and the members of the committee for those of you that were able to meet out on site and review and look over this project. It was the applicant's understanding that the consensus was that you were interested in having him complete an additional chip seal for both segments of the road, not just that portion that fronts his property, but also that portion that diagonally crosses and accesses his property. And at this time, he is not comfortable proceeding with that, and he would like to withdraw his appeal and have the opportunity to look into possibly like the formation of a road district for this area so that it would help to provide some base funding and help distribute the costs of maintenance or additional chip seal applications among those people who actually own and use the property rather than his sharing the full burden of doing a complete overlay or an additional seal on both segments of this road. So our request is to withdraw our appeal at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Janelle. I do have a light from Alderman Estes. This is during public. Oh, okay, we'll wait. Thank you. Any other suggestions or concerns at this time?
No, thank you.
All right, thank you. I do have another speaker request form on oops. Yes. If you could state your name and affiliation to the city for the record, please.
Well, Dave Riemenschneider, and I'm a resident of this, in regards to the same road that Jim Steele's talking about. And I guess mine is more of a question than really anything else, and it's the fact that the city put in this chip sealed road, and it's considered Sunridge Road, an extension of Sunridge Road. We're paying taxes on it, and we're responsible for the maintenance of it. And that's my question and my concern.
Sir, when we get to that item, since it's on the non-consent calendar, we'll see if we can get an answer to your question.
Okay.
So I'm not going to take time to answer it at this time, but thank you for bringing it up, and when we get to that item, we'll rephrase the question to our
Okay.
city staff.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other speaker request forums on item number 16 at this time? We do have an applicant requesting withdrawal of this item. However, we will still discuss it when it comes to discussing that item. I do have a speaker request form for item number 18. Mr. Jerry Munson. Sir, if you could approach the podium, state your name and your affiliation to the city, and you've got 3 minutes.
Hello, my name is Jerry Munson, and I'm a long-term resident of Rapid City. Thank you, Madam Chair. Again, I'm anxious to share some information about the bike path that I use all the time. And just to get started, the picture you're looking at just shows some trees and bushes that are overgrowing down by Creek Drive. This next one's behind Taco John's. Again, you can't see it, but above the path in the background is a tree that hangs and hits you in the head when you're riding by. This is wattle that's been left for years behind the Kia dealership. This is the fence as it was and the overhanging path over the creek. This is another one of that same situation. This has been corrected since I spoke to you folks at the council meeting last Monday. Just west of that, though, about 25 feet is another area. You can just see it in the middle of the screen where there's drainage or something and the sidewalk's been repaired. That's the drop-off next to it. It's about 6 feet deep and it's full of boulders. Another view of that. Wouldn't want to go off there on my bike. That's on the bridge by Campbell Street. Would not want to go off that on my bicycle. That's under the bridge. Again, not very good for riding a bike and being safe. That is damage from Winter Storm Atlas by the swim center on Omaha Street. Been that way since last October. That's the dark tunnel by the swim center again. Almost impossible to see when you enter on a bicycle. That's by 5th Street Bridge. Low spots. There's a drainage next to the sidewalk, 5th Street Bridge. That is 8th Street Bridge, water ponds constantly. That's by the Founders Park. That's where the edge of the path is about 4 inches below the grade of the path itself. Good place to go out of control if you're on a bike. Same thing by Omaha and West Chicago. That bridge at West Chicago is 7 feet 3 inches. It's pretty close to anybody that's tall when they try to negotiate that on a tall bicycle. Again, there's Bacon Park Bridge, standing water. Day before yesterday I took this. Dry to the right, so it means it's ponding. It doesn't have drainage. It's not the creek being that high. That shows the city knows that when there's a culvert or a bad spot next to the path, that we ought to do something about protecting people. So I applaud the folks that put that in by the 32nd Street intersection. That's north of the Jackson Boulevard Bridge. Again, the city has elected to put in something to protect people when there's a danger. That's the Jackson Boulevard Bridge. It is between 6 and 8 inches below grade next to the path. That's Canyon Lake Park. Again, no backfill. Canyon Lake Park, Canyon Lake Park. That's Canyon Lake Park on the other side. You can see there's a nice fence there next to that 3-foot drop-off. There, I guess we've decided it's not dangerous anymore. And that gives you another back view of the same place where we decided to put a fence, but decided that it was long enough. That's behind the fish hatchery. That's where I wrecked. Those are the low spots where the grass hides it. And we're back to Creek Drive. What's my time, Madam Chair?
I think you have about a minute left. Our timer was a little off.
Oh, okay. Well, I appreciate it. Thank you very much. I don't want to be a complainer, that's not why I'm here. I'd like to see the city make this bike path the jewel that we all believe it is and can be. And I'm hoping that we can address some of the major health and safety issues that are going to get us in trouble if things happen like happened to me. I'm concerned about all the people that use that path, pedestrians, bicyclists, people going to work, kids going to the swimming pool. And I'm available for any questions that any of you folks might have. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I currently have no other further speaker request forms for non-consent items 6 through 18. Am I missing anyone? Seeing none, moving on to item number 16. The applicant has requested a withdrawal of their appeal of denial. I've got light up for Alderman Estes.
I make a motion to acknowledge their withdrawal.
Second.
Got a motion by Estes to acknowledge the applicant's withdrawal on item number 16, second by Doyle. You still have the floor, Mr. Estes?
Well, I guess my only comment is that I guess that the withdrawal is strictly up to the applicant, and I understand his concern, but as far as I can tell, there's an agreement where it says that he's agreed to maintain that one section, and so I guess I feel that our grounds were justified for wanting that whole entire thing chip and sealed. So with that, I'll yield.
Chair recognizes Alderman Wright.
Thank you. For Dave and Jim's benefit, Dale, would you explain the difference between a county-owned, maintained road versus a public road? It's a private maintenance type thing for the benefit of, there is a difference.
I can give you my knowledge of the county road system as it was 6 years ago. And
Thank
I believe
you.
it's
Well, I
still,
don't think it's changed much. so
and I
go ahead.
believe it's still consistent with today. For a road to be adopted onto the county highway system, the County Board of Commissioners has to officially put that roadway on the system. The section of Sunridge Road that abuts Mr. Steele's property as well as Mr. Riemenschneider's property has not been placed on the county road system. It is public right-of-way that exists in the county that serves as public access for those adjoining properties. Mr. Riemenschneider is correct. They pay, I believe, what's called an unorganized road tax, which goes to the county for the funding of their highway system or road system. The county also has the mechanism where people that have roads that meet a certain threshold, it's a public road, serves more than a certain amount of properties, they can put together what's called a road district, which is their own taxing entity, if you will. And that portion of unorganized road tax that they're currently paying to the county, they can actually pay to themselves in their road district to maintain the roads in that road district. So there is a mechanism. I see Mr. Riemenschneider's writing something down. You would contact the county auditor to kick that process off. So that is a way of getting control of your own road, if you will, if you're in the county and it's not on the county road system.
Does that answer your questions, Dave?
Could you rephrase what that road tax is?
It's called unorganized road tax.
Yes, it did. Thank you, sir.
Okay. It's similar to a city street that's privately owned. We don't spend any maintenance on it because it hasn't been accepted on our system for maintenance. So, but it is a county jurisdiction, so that's where you need to go. And that's, as Dale said, go to them and they'll help you out. Go to the county highway superintendent, find out what you can do, and maybe get the whole system put on. Fair? Or organize a road district, one or the other, township. Yes, Dale, sorry.
Typically, the county won't accept roads unless they meet county standards. I don't know if this road meets it or not. I would say probably not due to the insufficient paving thickness.
So there's a place to start, okay? Thank you. Thank you, Dale. Answer your questions. Thank you.
And thank you. And seeing no other further lights, just to complete this conversation, Mr. Tech, also can you explain, part of the conversation we had is that diagonal piece is under, as Alderman Estes was referring to, is under a current maintenance covenant agreement with strictly just Mr. Steele, is the way we understood it. Is that correct?
That is correct. In August of 2012, as a condition of him platting one of the lots that abutted that diagonal portion, he signed a maintenance agreement for that section of road. And it states that until another entity, be it a road district, the county, the city, some other jurisdiction takes that road, he's responsible for the maintenance of that road.
And that's just that diagonal piece. That was not the request for the current platting.
That is correct.
And then just also for clarification as well, Mr. Tech, when it comes to the putting in this road and this being a city road versus a county road, the city is only reviewing this from because the land on either side is currently being platted. And it falls within our 3-mile radius. That's the only reason the city is looking at it, because the thought process is that eventually, if it does come into the city, we want the roads up to date before they come into the city.
That is correct.
All right, thank you. Anything else, Mr. Tech, that I've?
No.
Thank you. Not seeing any further lights, we do have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion has been made to accept the applicant's withdrawal. Moving on to item number 17. This is a traffic recommendation for the intersection of Stumer Road and Enchantment Road. Chair recognizes Alderwoman Doyle.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to make a motion to send this to council without recommendation, and I will state why if I could get a second.
I'll give you a second.
Thank you, Jerry. The
I
reason
currently
being,
have a motion to send to council without recommendation by Doyle and a second by Wright. You have the floor, Alderwoman
okay, the
Doyle.
reason being is there were quite a few residents that were not able to make it today, and they would like to say their piece and hopefully influence something on Monday. Thank you.
Thank you. Then is it this committee's preference to go ahead and hear from the Public Works Department, Mr. Dale Tech, at the council meeting rather than today?
Yes.
Seeing no objection to
Got
that?
time for both, but how much time you got, Dale? What's it take?
Just a couple of minutes. I was
love
more
to
or
hear
less
it today.
standing by for questions, but I've got some information to go over with this committee, if that's fine.
I would like to hear it today so I can use it in my discussion and analysis till Monday night.
So do I have an objection from any committee members to hearing it today at today's meeting?
No,
Seeing none? Mr. Tech, if you go ahead and give us the update or a brief update on the statistics that have been discovered to date.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My memorandum I attached to the agenda, I believe, says it all, but I'll make a couple of general comments, I guess, regarding that. Traffic counts were performed prior to the bollards being taken down on Stumer Road. Didn't have a lot of time there. We got about 2 days worth of data, one full day, which was Wednesday, May 7th, as my memorandum reflects. The average daily traffic on Enchantment Road south of Stumer was about 637 vehicles. Counted that road 2 additional times at 2 different dates past when the bollards were taken down. On Wednesday, May 21st, 636 vehicles, and on Wednesday, June 18th, 697 vehicles. So the traffic patterns based on the counts that we did on Enchantment Road south of Stumer didn't change much. Level of service, that's another bullet point that I had in my memorandum that talked about justification for additional traffic control. One thing you look at is level of service. How does that intersection function? What is its level of service? Level of service is graded much like you're graded in school, A through F, if you will. This intersection functions at A. It's the best you can get. There are delays of less than 10 seconds for any vehicle that approaches that intersection. I also summarized that Enchantment Road, currently there is no delay because it's not stop control. The only control is on Stumer Road. One thing that was not part of my report that I think needs to be mentioned is speed on Enchantment Road. That was not part of the discussion that we had on this item early on. We did speed analysis while we were out there too. And I'm going to throw that up on the board right now just for example.
Mr. Tech, is this speed analysis part of your memorandum?
It is not, no.
Will it be
because
linked for Tuesday night's council meeting?
I certainly can link it, yes.
I would appreciate that, thank you.
The speed data was taken in the same areas that we took the traffic counts. Enchantment Road south of Stumer, average speed 23.2 miles per hour, 85th percentile speed, which is important in the fact that that is what the threshold that all traffic engineering uses is the 85th percentile speed. It's the speed that most people are driving the roadway at. And as you can see, it's 29.5 miles an hour, 4.5 miles an hour over the posted speed limit. I just threw the volume out there to show that we had a significant sample size of cars. That's nearly 10,000 cars that we collected speed data on. Enchantment Road north of Stumer, which is just as it says, between Enchanted Pines and Stumer there. Average speed a little less, 22.7. The 85th percentile speed a little higher. Once again, a slightly larger sample, 13,000 vehicles. And then also Enchanted Pines east of Enchantment Road, which would be a little further to the north and to the east of the intersection, and the speeds there are actually considerably higher, 27.6 mile per hour average speed with a 33.9 85th percentile speed and a much larger volume of 23,000 vehicles that were recorded. One reason I wanted to bring this up, I discussed with Police Chief Jagras about the enforcement that they had done shortly after the road opened, and I believe he told me that they did not have any, actually they didn't write any tickets because they didn't find anybody speeding, if you will, or within their threshold of where they write tickets. And I just wanted to bring up the fact that the speed data that we recorded back in June matches what he was saying, especially on Enchantment Road, that if they see people going less than 5 miles an hour over the speed limit, I don't believe they're going to write them a ticket. So the data kind of matches what he had indicated that their enforcement action indicated out there as well. That's all I have. I'll stand for any question that you may have, and I'd be happy to provide any information Monday night as well.
Tuesday night, just a
Tuesday night,
reminder.
yes. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Alderwoman Doyle.
I just feel I have to state the obvious. Everybody slows down and doesn't speed when they see a police car.
And not seeing any further lights, the only question that sorry. Chair recognizes Alderman Estes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Dale, on that deal, you know, one of them had like 9,000 cars, one had 10,000, one had 23. So is this that wagon that blinks and then does it record what it? I mean,
No, these were actual tube counters. These were the
tubes.
The tubes that you see laying
Tubes
across the road.
do the speed. Then.
Right.
Okay.
And they were left out for, I think, 10 days, so that's a good amount of data that we collected.
All right. Thank you. I yield.
Thank you. And not seeing any of the further lights, Alderman Estes was getting to where I was asking you. So this was by tubes, and then it was for roughly 10 days. And was this done in that month of June? Is that what your reference was to?
Yes,
All
that's
right.
correct.
So about 10 days in June. Thank you. And you will be available at Tuesday night's City Council meeting on September 2nd.
Yes.
Thank you, sir. Not seeing any further questions. I do have a motion on the floor to send to council without recommendation. All in favor?
All right.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 18 is a report on the condition of the Leonard Swanson Memorial Pathway and plan for maintenance. And it looks like Alex is coming up. If you would still state your name and your affiliation to the city, and we are all ears.
Alex D. Smith, landscape designer, Rapid City Parks and Recreation. Just to address some of the items that Mr. Munson brought up at the last Public Works Committee and again here today. To point out, he's absolutely correct. The bike path is a jewel. Rapid City's, it's been in Rapid City's greenway and park system since right after the flood. And I just wanted to give you some brief details on how much infrastructure is actually out there and the types of use that bike path sees. And it's an 8-mile long system that runs east to west through the entire greenway. There's over 422,400 square feet of concrete anywhere from an 8-foot wide path to a 12-foot wide path. And back in May, we did some counts down at Founders Park for the entire month, and we got an average of 64 cyclists during the weekdays, and that jumped up to about 74 on the weekends. And that was using the same 2 counters they use on the streets. And that number was actually cut in half from what the actual counts were, just to give you an idea that a lot of people are commuting, so some of those were probably counted twice, so we just cut that number right in half to get that basically average. So, so it is a major system, and with major systems there comes a lot of minor repairs, cracking, spalling, and major repairs, some of the items that Mr. Munson pointed out. And today, actually, you guys approved us to go out for a contract with Ferber to begin looking at some of the major items. One of the major ones that he had an issue with by Billy and Kia there. That one's been in disrepair for quite some time. Another one behind the fish hatchery, and another one that's out beyond that. Building a bike path right along the creek is great. Everyone loves it for transportation and recreation, but it also causes some issues. We have a number of areas, the 2 we just mentioned, that are falling into the creek. With those repairs entail quite an extensive engineering and application process, not only for our own city floodway development permits, but also for the Army Corps of Engineers. And that requires us to go out for consulting to focus on those issues. So there's also some other issues that surround those 2 locations regarding ownership. Those 2 specifically at Billy and Kia and behind the fish hatchery, the city doesn't have an easement for those parcels right now. So that work needs to be done in order for us to, one, not only fix those items, but also to continue to maintain and fix those areas in the future. So we need to vet all that information out. And I just wanted to, in my memo and my report, I provided some detailed information on the things that we've done since I've been here in 2012, and things we're going to continue. So I'll just go over those briefly, and I'll stand for questions following that. But we did almost $22,000 worth of bike path repairs in one of the major high traffic areas at Sioux Park behind Fitzgerald Stadium, in which we fixed over 3,000 feet of the bike path. So that was 300 feet length, actually. That was only able to be fixed. So right there you can kind of see the cost related to it, about $7 and a quarter to fix those, and that we had to go out for contracts to do. And in 2013, we spent another $7,500 to tag team or work in conjunction with Public Works to do bridge inspections. There's currently 5 bridges that are associated just with the bike path. There's another 8 road crossings and 12 underpasses. So we do a bridge inspection report to see what items we need to address in terms of minor and major repairs on the bridges. That cost comes out of the same costs that our regular bike path improvements come out of. We also spent $31,000 on not the bike path, but a large system that connects into the bike path at Founders Park that ties into the Hanson Larson Memorial Park Complex. We spent $31,000 up there in 2013. And so far this year, just out of operating, we spent about $8,500 just to fix some of the items in Sioux Park and Canyon Lake to address the storm damage that occurred there and the damage that came out of the direct cleanup of that storm. And currently the contract that was approved today was for $24,875 just to do the design and planning and easement work for 3 major areas that we need to fix. So we don't have a total project cost on what it's going to take to fix those, but we will have that by the end of this year so that we can get those fixed during the construction season next year. So we really only have two budgets to work with. One is our CIP budget, the other is operating. And in terms of bike path improvements, right now we have, after this contract is in place, we'll have $49,425 in the bike path improvement line item in Parks and Rec CIP to work with here to fix all these issues. And that's going to go to cover most of the items that come out of the Billion Kia, the Cleghorn, and the other items on that contract. So we've got some work to do, obviously, but I guess I'll stand for any questions at that point.
Thank you, Alec. Chair recognizes Alderman Estes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Alec, when you said, towards the end, you said the 29,000 to Ferber was for 3 major areas, and is that what you're talking about behind Billion, behind Kia, and what were one by the fish hatchery, and where was the other one?
Let's see if I can do this like Dale here. Oh, thanks, Jim. This is the one right behind Billion Kia there. This is the Campbell Street Bank stabilization project that we need to repair. Obviously right here you can see that it's falling away down into the bank. There's some big issues in the creek bank itself where there's some remaining concrete slabs that need to be pulled out because they're diverting water right into that bank, which is undercutting that bank significantly. This location, we do not have an easement with the owners of Billion Kia for that bike path that we've been able to find. So within this contract, we're going to vet all that out and get an actual easement so that everyone knows that that's city property and that we are on the hook for maintaining that, and that everything is as it should be. Some of the other ones, one that wasn't pointed out that hasn't fallen into the creek yet, but is on its way to becoming just like Billion Kia, is associated with the fairgrounds. We're going to do the same thing there, protect that bank, protect that bike path, keep it from dilapidating and falling into the creek bank. Another major one is Cliffside Park. It's the same kind of issue. The bike path has already fallen away into the creek. This park sees major use, and we need to rectify the situation. So these are the two, Billion Kia right in here. This area is going to be associated with some bike path improvements that we received a state grant for to tie in with some sidewalks along Campbell going north to the Rail to Trail project. Over here you have the area by the fairgrounds where it's falling into the creek. And then these are the other two. Behind the fish hatchery, we have a stretch of, I think it's over 300 feet long that we need an easement for, which has fallen into disrepair, in which there's a lot of trees in the, oops, I'm falling here. A lot of trees that need to be fixed back there, and the bike path is falling apart and crushed in a lot of areas. So we need to vet that out and fix all that. And then Cliffside Park down here, that bank stabilization, that picture that I showed before. So these are 4 major areas that we have some major issues that need to be vetted out on that. And that's our major focus right now, is to get those handled and fixed. Obviously alluded to some issues with using that bike path in that area where it's been in that state for quite some time. So we need to get in there and get that done, but we need to do that through an outside consultant to get that work figured out and get all those easements acquired, go through the floodplain development permits, go through the Army Corps of Engineer permits, as well as the bidding services. So.
Thank you, Alex. I appreciate I appreciate your report, and I appreciate Jerry Munson bringing the photos and sharing his thoughts with us. And I ride the bike path a fair amount, and I think we'd take a little bit of responsibility when we get on that bike path. But one of the things that makes me nervous is that catches a lot of people, I think, by surprise, is when a wheel goes off and you think you're going to transition back onto the bike path, and you end up on your forehead. And my wife rides to work a lot, and she dumped her bike about 2 weeks ago, and 2 police officers picked her up and put her chain back on. They just happened to over by the league baseball fields, and that's what happened. But one thing I was wondering is over by the Canyon Lake Park area, there's a lot of sidewalk through Canyon Lake Park where it's down, and and there was a construction did somebody just drop the ball on backfilling that sidewalk during a construction project? I mean, it's too late now, but it looks to me like maybe during one of those Canyon Lake projects when sidewalk was a part of the contract, that maybe on a final inspection something just got missed. Could you help me with that?
I'm slightly familiar with that. My understanding is that that was a temporary fix because the dam project got put on hold. I think we can work with Public Works to find out if we need to, talk to the contractor to get that backfilled or when that project's going to start up again. But that section of sidewalk is going to come back out once they get in there to fix that dam project. So it is a temporary situation. Could we have done better? Absolutely. So we need to follow through on that.
All right. Thank you. I yield. Thanks.
Thank you. Chair recognizes Alderman Wright.
I come from an old school, and I remember working for the railroad when we did a system report. We did the report on the entire system, and the need for that was so that we could direct to Chicago our needs for money to repair the system, not just a particular part of it. And I'm going to be a little harsh, and I'm going to ask that our department head of Parks and Recreation bring back to this committee an assessment of the needs of the entire bike path. I think that it's doesn't say well for us when a former mayor and a bike rider citizen comes in and points out our weaknesses when we should be doing it first. And we as a council can't support you with money to fix this system if we don't know what you need. So I would like to have a report back to us, say the first Public Works meeting in October, saying, here's the bike path, and here's where the weaknesses and failures are, and here's what it's going to take to fix it so we can help get it done. I totally support what you're doing here with the other 4 segments, but we really need to address the system. We talk about we're going to make a make-fix, and we can't get at it to the money because the money, and then all of a sudden there's a liability and someone gets hurt, and all of a sudden we find the money. It's unacceptable. I think you need to bring to us that information, and then it needs to be on us to either say we're going to support it or the liabilities on our backs. And I would ask that this committee would support that direction. We're finding issues throughout our system. The one that's going to come up tomorrow is in our cemetery on headstones, and there's a lot of things where we're short on. But we are, as a council, cannot address your needs without knowing them. And I look at this 8 miles of bike path, which is 40,000 square feet, I believe, 8 foot wide, which is going to be about 300-some-thousand square feet. And if you look statistically, what we should be replacing, probably we're way under that. If we don't know that, we can't give you the money or find it. So I would ask the council, this committee, to thank you and acknowledge the report and acknowledge the project, but I would also like to have a report back to us, say, first Public Works meeting in October, here's what we really need to do. Is that fair?
Do you yield the floor?
I yield the floor.
Thank you, sir. Chair recognizes Alderwoman Doyle.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to make a motion to acknowledge, with the caveat that we will be expecting that report, first Public Works meeting in October.
Second.
I've got a motion by Doyle to acknowledge the report on the Leonard Swanson Memorial Pathway and Plan for Maintenance, as well as to request a follow-up report for the first Public Works meeting in October. Second by Estes. Alderwoman Doyle, you still have the floor. With that, yield. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Those are all the items. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move.
Got a motion by Wright to adjourn, second by Estes. All in favor? Any opposed? We're adjourned. Thank you, everyone.